So I showed her, I was like, yeah, this is what I use. I've worked with this girl forever. And she like started asking me all these questions. And so I was like, you need to work with her. Like, why are you not? I was like, you need to sign up for a program. I can only take you so far because I'm not going to be able to teach you. Like, it's one thing to know it, it's a different thing to teach it, the program, because I'm like, you have zero lifting knowledge or experience. You think that you're just going to lose weight quick and it's just going to be this and I'm like, girl, I've been lifting since I was 19. I've
Yeah.
been lifting for 15 years. Oh, like that's hard to hear. And I'm like, I understand, but it is truly, it is a lifestyle. This isn't something you just do temporarily. And I was like, I think you'll like her. She's really down to earth. She's not this like, she's not some super high-end influencer who's going to like try to sell you a million things. Like, she actually knows what she's talking about. You use her as much as you need to. I needed her for a certain piece, and that's what worked. And I mean, the strength gains, the fat loss, I mean, it's all been insanely great. And it was just like, it was a course correction for me. Like
Right.
I was so in between like super hardcore where, in college where you're like bodybuilding and trying to get on stage and then gained it all back and then didn't know what to do from there in my 30s. And so like so it's all different, but use her as much as you can or want or need and make sure that you're actually learning. You have to learn this stuff. You can't just show up and do the things. I'm still learning though every single day. The foundations, you need to learn the foundations.
So, what is your name? Where are you from? And what do you do?
So I'm Corrina. I am from Florida, born and raised originally. I actually live in Alaska now, and I work from home. I work for a company that consults and advises big corporations. So I'm always in front of a computer on my butt, but definitely recognize the sitting activities need to be, addressed and getting outside and taking breaks.
What were you struggling with most before working with me?
Yeah, so the simplest answer is consistency and just structure. I've been lifting since I was 19. I'm 33 now. And so, what worked for me in the past, it wasn't maintainable for where I'm at in my life today and what's important to me today. And so I was going back and forth with old workouts and old programs and things that worked when I was just starting out or had some years under my belt. But now that and my math is terrible, now that I'm 14 years, 15 years into my, lifting experience, I needed something new and I needed something that was, organized in a way that I was going to, lose fat, build strength, but also be able to do it consistently with my new, where I'm at today as, lifestyle changes as you get older. And so, yeah, it was just no structure, no real good plan for where I'm at today and what had worked for me in the previous years of weightlifting. That and really just having consistency around nutrition because you can work out all you want and you can push all you want and do everything in the gym or running or whatever it looks like. But if you're not cognizant or aware of your nutrition, it really doesn't, at least for me, it does not matter. And so, yeah, I was just struggling with structure and just having any kind of program to follow and be diligent about versus just whack-a-mole, different things, different weeks. It just wasn't working.
What made you decide to work with me?
So I really decided to work with you because of your educational content and how very much, just down to earth you were about the realities of weightlifting. Again, as someone who has been lifting for a long time, it's easy for me to see like on social media or on the internet, like what's maybe more valid or not valid in terms of what you see there in terms like workouts or advice or nutrition. And you were always so consistent. I don't remember how I even found you in the first place, but I did. And this was years ago. And that just always stuck out to me that it was always feel like maintainable and practical weightlifting, not only advice, but knowledge that you clearly had and that I feel like we I resonated with you because you'd been lifting for a while and gone through different phases as well. And, it changes. And when your life changes or when your priorities change, like how do you shift your program? And so I definitely resonated with that. But it was just how factual and straightforward and real you were about what this lifestyle is and just what it takes to maintain it. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's real.
What would you say to someone who's on the fence about joining?
I like it's one of those things where I feel like people want a clear cut yes or no, should I do this? Should I not do this? But if you're struggling with, first of all, just wanting to learn more about what weightlifting is, or wanting to learn more about nutrition, or wanting just to learn more about just being healthier as a woman and how, our bodies respond to different things and how we can just be healthier overall, not just from a physique perspective, you have to hire a coach. I mean, you're really sticking your stake in the ground to say, I'm serious about this. This is important to me. My health is important to me. You're getting professional guidance on what you need to do. So I don't understand why anybody would be on the fence, only because if it's something that's important, this I think is just a key piece of that is to have someone who can actually give you the guidance and the structure so that you can learn, but also at some points, right, maintain this long term. You can't go to school without a teacher. So I really view, the program and what you do as the teacher with, that you can actually do something that's going to stick with you.
I love that. What results have you achieved that surprised you the most?
Yeah, I have been, there's a lot. I would say one of the things I don't think I've mentioned before is the gastrointestinal, like just inflammation and bloating. I feel like a lot of people have really came down. And I think that's because, there's when you're really conscious about what you're putting into your body, no one's perfect. Like I'm not eating clean every single meal. I'm not being, crazy. I'm moderating and making sure that for the 80%, right, that is on point. But even by doing that, for me, the inflammation and the bloating and just like post-meal grossness and it really came down, which is something that again is not temporary. This is how I live now. This is just who I am. It's not something that's just going to go away. So that's huge. And just the mood improvements from that, I think are big that don't really get talked about. What you eat is how you feel. So that was huge. I would say the other surprise is just the strength gains where you really are trying to just be healthier. For me, it was, obviously having some physique goals and some strength goals, but I was able to exceed those. It took longer than I wanted to, right? We want things to go super fast, but I know that it's long term and the strength goals and just the things that I was able to do far exceeded what I was envisioning. And I think that's because we often underestimate how much, we can really do if we're consistent and if we're doing things with right form and if we're eating right and sleeping right. And so yeah, I would say those are the two big things. It's just some of the I wasn't expecting.
I love that. That's awesome. Especially that you like got past like what you expected. That's so cool.
I think my bench I got up to 160, which is freaking nuts. I mean, I never would have thought I would be able to rep 135. I would never thought I'd be able to rep 155 or 160. I thought that was 135 was like the mecca.
Yeah.
And I got there a long time ago and now it's been building up. But even squat, I mean, and I'm not trying to max out or do anything crazy like that. But I mean, 250 doesn't phase me. And especially with a leg injury, just
Yeah.
the slow rehab with me breaking my leg, like I never thought I would get back to that. But yeah, some of just the compound lift strength numbers were pretty crazy. I mean, lat raises too, like 50
Yeah.
are my normal nuts.
It's awesome. What was like more sustainable for you than like what you were doing before?
What was more sustainable is it's nutrition at the end of the day. I mean, I am somebody who like I just got back from this work trip and I can see like the sodium in my
Me.
face. Like as soon as I put something in my mouth, my body's like, I'm gonna store that as fat, like it's so I know that about my metabolic window, and I know that so I had to be very, very, very tight in order to lose. But I also learned, right, is that maintenance is maintenance. I'm not having to live in a deficit. That's not sustainable. And so, just learning that there are different cycles to your body. I'm going to be stronger if I have a little bit more calories in me, right? Because I have more gas. And so, gas in the tank. But the nutrition, getting that and just accepting that, especially as you get older, that, okay, maybe it's not fair or ideal that others maybe can eat more or less or whatever and not gain or maybe gain. But for me, knowing my body and then figuring out what that maintenance really looks like, eating the right way versus starving yourself and trying to just be really, really, really obsessive about it. And that's why I was talking about before, writing stuff down or even putting it in my notes
Yeah.
of, okay, I know that that was about 400, or I know that that was about 500, or so, and so not being so obsessive, but also just accepting that, your maintenance is going to be maybe a little lower than you want, and you just need to make sure that you give yourself that time to get to that point so that you can maintain it. Because if I had tried to, I mean, it can't, the weight, I lost 10% of my body weight and it kind of fell off, but it took a good 6 to 7 months
Uh-huh.
for it to really just come off. And so I knew that about my body. And so it was just the patience. And I know I do, like the holidays, I was trying to just be at maintenance,
Mm,
but definitely wasn't at maintenance, right? And I could feel it and I felt bad and I felt heavy. And I'm like, this isn't heavy in a sense of, oh, you've put on all this weight. This is heavy in the sense that your body is telling you, hey, we were doing really good at maintenance. We
mhm.
we figured it out when we've been riding that wave. What are you doing? You just put way more into me than I'm used to now. I can feel it, right? And so that brings me back to that equilibrium. But just to get there, if you have extra weight or extra fat, it is hard.
Yeah.
You are going to be a little bit hungry, right? But you're not starving yourself. You're not doing anything extreme. But, if you do have fat loss goals, like it is going to be a struggle. And I think that you just have to embrace that. It's temporary. And, once you get to the point where you can maintain, if that's where you want to stay, great. If you want to lose more in a healthy way, great. But it's going to keep getting harder. So that's just the reality.
I think some people, it's like, yes, when you build muscle, it gets a little easier, but it's still not a magical thing like where you,
It's not like I can just go
yeah,
eat whatever I want now. I definitely have more of a leeway, but I can't really go. Some people have more of a leeway than others. Mine
yeah,
is small,
yeah.
right? So my metabolic window is like the first floor of the house of like I'm in here, I'm in maintenance, I'm still good. But if I
Yeah.
go to that second floor, boom, the weight's gonna come right back.
I
Some
love,
people can go to the second floor and they're fine, then they're still within that maintenance window and their
yeah,
body, not me, girl. I take a
yeah,
step up that staircase. It's like, here
yeah.
you
You're like,
go.
okay, too much now. Yeah, yeah, that totally, yeah, I love that. Because were you losing on like 1900, was it? Or,
I was losing on 1800
uh,
to 1900. For maintenance, I'm around
oh, okay,
1950.
so not a huge difference. So,
No, I would say I was probably closer to 17 the
yeah,
majority of the time, to be
yeah,
real, real. So being at 19 is the top end of my maintenance, which is sustainable. And I have no issues doing that on a day-to-day basis. I'm not dieting, I'm just
yeah,
living my life.
exactly.
So, I know how to do that. I don't need to obsess, but if I am in a fat loss phase, which I'm going to do again, I'm going to have to track literally every single thing that goes into my body because I know my like window is so small and it has to be, but that's temporary. I'm
Yeah,
not going to live in that forever.
yes. Oh, I love this. Because it
Yeah.
seemed for you like like the weight came off out of nowhere, but was it kind of like really slow and then
It
fast?
was super slow. I was actually looking for me, it's my face and obviously my clothes. I was a size 8 for, and that varies for women, I know, but
Yeah.
like generally, like a size 8 in like pants. I'm a 2 now.
Oh, wow.
Like what? And I don't weigh, I don't like I go to the doctor and I know I've lost 20 pounds, 25 pounds, but it's my clothing and like that's a big difference. And so it was gradual. I wasn't like one day I woke up a two, but I would say it was definitely something that for me, what works for me is I almost like to go into a shell and be like, all right, I'm gonna baggy myself up. I'm gonna put in this work for 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was. And then I'm gonna come out of my cocoon and I'm gonna be a size two. And that works for me. I was kind of just like hiding it, and when I'm ready, it's gonna come, and it did. So
I'm similar too. Like I'm just like, no, I'm not even worrying about the results. I'm just gonna do the thing and then I'll see. Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, big reveal. I had to buy a lot of new clothes, which was a pain in the ass, but a good thing. And they are a little loose, like the new stuff, but
Mhm.
it could just be because I'm in my follicular phase right now, so everything's feeling good. Bad at taking pictures
Amazing.
of myself.
Right? I know. It's like at first you're like, oh, I don't want to, and then you do it, and then you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that.
I know, and then I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's day to day, female bodies. I was like I think I was 168 pounds, I think, at like the heaviest. And then the last time I was weighed, which again, I think that was just a couple weeks ago, was like 148,
Yeah.
a solid 20 pounds. But again, I built so much muscle.
Yeah. I was gonna say
The
that's like,
striations are sick. Like the separation on I don't know what it's called, but like the separation between your glute and your ham. Oh
that's
God,
so
I'm like
I know it's so cool. Like it's just like, whoa.
the back stuff too, really amazing. And like shoulders are super straight. I mean, it's awesome. So it's a
Yay.
lot of fun.
Yay, I'm glad you've done so well. I'm so excited for you.
So much. I think my RDLs were up to like almost 200. Like, oh, I admire you. I respect you. I think what you're doing is amazing with your business. I'll keep sending people your way. And yeah, thanks. It's
Awesome.
been
Thank you.